Hey guys, Red Eye Gaijin here. Good to see you all again. So having a bit of a think today about a couple of issues which I think I can group together and give it the title Copycat Culture. Now, I've just actually made this word up. Maybe there is such a thing out there applied to a total different meaning. But what I mean by copycat culture in Japan is where people have seen something or some way of doing things or some way of behavior or a way of creating something, and they have copied exactly to perfection, and then they basically end up copying it all the time, and it becomes part of them. Now, what the hell am I talking about? Well, the first example I want to give is how a lot of the Japanese young people like to dress up in hip-hop clothes or, which is predominantly an African-American type look. Not to say that all African Americans wear hip hop clothes, but that's where it comes from, and within the hip hop look, there's of course the gangster look, so the Los Angeles, New York type Black American gangster look, and there are actually a huge amount of Japanese guys and girls that dress up in this type of clothing, and in my opinion, it doesn't look bad all the time. Sometimes it's a bit over the top, but this kind of I guess not shocked me, but I was surprised at how mainstream, these kind of oversized baseball hats, and it's such a specific culture. It's not sort of general American culture. It's very particular to the rap and hip hop look. So, but it's sort of worn by average Japanese people who, whereas it wouldn't be worn, I don't think, by the average American person. So, is there anything wrong with that? I don't know. Maybe not. Fashion is fashion. On one side of things, I think it's really cool that that you can get away with wearing clothes which otherwise might be sort of restricted to certain groups or a certain type of person. And what I mean by that is, in Australia, if you were an average sort of guy and you dressed up like that and went in certain areas, people would actually think of you as representing a certain type of person. So, and that could actually get you into trouble. Actually, on that, a few years ago, there was a news story that came out of Tokyo, and a group of high school kids from, I think they were from Wakayama, or they were definitely from a non-major city, and a group of young guys, probably 15 guys or so, they went on a trip to Tokyo, and they were all wearing very obvious type of hip hop gangster like wear. Anyway, during their time in Tokyo, they came across a real gang, and this was actually a gang that was sort of along the lines of what you would find in the African American gangs or the Latino gangs in the US, in that it wasn't Bosozoku, it wasn't related to Yakuza. These are guys who listen to rap music. They have their bandanas and baseball hats and big oversized American brand baggy clothes. But they were actually, poor people, and they did crime. So they were, an actual gang, and they saw these guys from out of town who basically were dressed the same as them, and they beat the hell out of them and took all their clothes and left them half naked. So to me, that was very interesting, because I'd always thought, I wonder what would happen if these regular guys dressed like that in the US, or dressed like that in parts of Australia, and that was what I kind of guessed would happen, but in this case it happened in Tokyo. So yeah, and I guess there is, that's just one case that's only one case I've heard of. I don't know if that's ever happened anywhere else in Japan, but I guess this copycat culture is ironically almost the complete opposite to the idea of the hip-hop culture, where you're supposed to keep it real, or whatever they say, and be true to yourself, and it's all about standing up for yourself and expressing yourself through the various music and dancing and graffiti art, but it has to represent what you're about. And but in Japan, it seems that they're literally mimicking what is being worn in magazines by their by models who are making a fortune off selling this stuff in especially in Tokyo and Osaka, Kyoto, but I think you can get it pretty much all over Japan. Young guys, there'll be a percentage of them that are into wearing this stuff. So yeah, what do you think? Copycat culture, is this something real, or is it just not worth even thinking about? Another example of this is when you go out to eat, and for example, probably the outside of sort of McDonald's, the most common type of food, which is non-Japanese in Japan, I would say, is Italian. So there's lots of Italian restaurants, and I've got to say, I'm half Italian, or my roots, on my mother's side are Italian, and I've got to say there's some really good Italian restaurants in terms of food and service. But one thing that I always found interesting or hard to get my head around was, when I'm comparing the good Italian restaurants in Sydney or Australia, for example, and the good ones in Japan, usually the ones in Australia are actually run by people who are Italian, or a few generations back are Italian, and they include family and regional recipes in their menu, and it's actually, it's part of the experience. It's sort of like when you go looking for sushi overseas, you prefer it if the owner is Japanese. Well, it's a bit like that for me. Anyway, with Italian food in Sydney, but in Japan there are a few, but usually the chefs are Japanese, and they're really good. But they've obviously, some of them have gone to Italy and learnt, and they're, big respect for that. But it's just it's almost like they are copying rather than being, rather than being what would naturally make the perfect Italian restaurant experience. I suppose because they're so obviously not Italian. It's almost like they're copying, and they might occasionally sprinkle some Italian words into their greetings and things like that, or say buono and things like this. And it's bordering along, trying to be authentic, which is cool, and being tacky. So I don't know. What do you think? I think I might be a little bit too harsh on that particular example, but what do you think? So yeah, copycat culture. The last example is with the music, and I've back when I was young, I used to do a bit of DJing, and but I was by no means a big name. But I did have some friends who are, very well-known DJs, and particularly one friend who sort of was well-known in Australia and China, and actually all over sort of the Australasia, or Asia Pacific, if you like. He would actually be paid to go and travel and do DJ gigs overseas. So he was that good. And he came when he came to Japan when I was this is going back probably 7 years or so, and he came to Japan and he stayed with me, which was cool, and we went around to a lot of clubs, and we went into a club, and he sort of we show a lot of interest in the DJs and their techniques, and actually the technical side of DJing. So we wouldn't. So there was this place that we went into, and there was a guy who was doing a sort of performance set, DJ set. It was a hip hop music set, and my friend recognized that he was playing exactly the same set as a famous DJ in America. So he'd obviously bought a DVD or something that showed exactly what this DJ had done at one point in time, for an hour or two. So the combination of songs, the time that he scratched, the way that the whole set was played out was an exact copy, and it was perfect, and it sounded brilliant. The crowd were loving it, but it was a complete copy. So he was just reproducing exactly to the T what this other DJ had done, and I don't know, it's sort of to us it was a bit odd, because DJing is supposed to be a sort of a way of being creative, and it's almost on, well, it is on par with being able to play an instrument. You can do covers of people's songs, but you always keep your own voice, or you add your own flavor to it, and then it becomes something creative, something that you can be proud of. But this was like an almost exact carbon copy, so it was almost like the skill was not in the DJing itself, it was in the copying. And so yeah, what do you think about this issue? Is this something that is good or not? Like, I definitely don't like parts of the copycat culture, if I can call it that. But maybe that is a strength to be proud of, to be able to copy something exactly and deliver it just as the original. Anyway, food for thought. Red Eye Gaijin. See ya.